versus Saxton Hale, a game mode that the community has been wanting to have for so long, but eventually Valve finally decided to let us have it in the summer update. And for the longest period of time, I've been enjoying it to my heart's content. Me and my friends have been enjoying playing it, we've all been having some fun, and Saxton Hale just feels like a damn good addition to the gosh darn game, including that good old-fashioned, cute and adorable little seal. Hey, look at you, you're so little cute. Yeah, but anyways. But more recently, I went ahead and decided to delve back into the past a bit. Because as we all know, Saxton Hale, before it became official, was always a community-made server kind of thing, which, of course, delved into much more than just good old-fashioned shooting Saxton. Because as we all know, the official game mode of versus Saxton Hale doesn't include any of the other bosses that were in the original OG version of Saxton Hale. But of course, I'm not here to talk about those, and neither am I here to talk about the majority of big changes that were made in the VScript version of Saxton Hale either. Because in reality, in this video, I wanted to go ahead and talk a bit more about Saxton Hale and his OG counterpart. The counterpart, of course, which is, well, before it was this guy, but now they actually updated his model to the more recent version, and honestly, I think it's probably for the better. But when it comes to talking about the differences between the VScript version of Saxton Hale and the original OG Saxton Hale, we have to take into account many different things. For starters, VScript allows for a hell of a lot more stuff to be done, and community servers don't exactly have that same kind of power or potential to really make usage of. So of course, back then, it was quite a bit more difficult to make certain aspects of Saxton Hale work as intended, because some things would either get broken very easily, or require a bit more time to really work on. It probably could be the same for VScript as well, but to be honest, I've never really utilized VScript, and neither did I look it up for this video, because I'm a lazy sack of crap. But to focus back on the matter, how different is the OG Saxton Hale versus the VScript version of Saxton Hale? I took it upon myself to go through and play both versions of Saxton Hale, the OG version, and of course, the official VScript version. Now, keep in mind, some of the footage that you will currently see here has a whole lot more of the official VScript version of Saxton Hale, but that is mainly because, for some unknown reason, people weren't exactly playing that much of versus Saxton Hale on community servers when I was trying to get footage for this video. The only footage I could get was on a server that was literally not even filled with that many people, so that's literally the only reason why you're not going to be seeing that much of that footage. But don't worry, it'll still be here for your nice little nostalgic eyes to go ahead and grasp and devour. You know, some nice little content for you. But to focus on the matter at hand though, in this video, I will be delving a bit further into figuring out what major changes were made for the official VScript version of Saxton Hale, and the major differences that are in both the official version and the VScript version of Saxton Hale as a whole. So with that being said, let's go ahead and delve a bit further into seeing why Saxton Hale is different than his OG counterpart. So right off the bat, the main big thing that I feel like we need to immediately discuss about is, of course, Saxton Hale's main source of power, his fists and the amount of damage they do. Both Saxtons from OG to official do different amounts of damage depending on certain statistics, but from the amount of servers that I've been on, community server Saxton always seems to range from being able to do upwards of 200 and above damage, and sometimes a bit lower to maybe at times 199. As compared to the official Saxton Hale, Saxton in that version does upwards of 195 damage at a consistent rate. This of course is very much different for a Saxton Hale punch, but we'll get back to that in a second. So right off the bat, of course, 195 and upwards of 200 is a very big difference, as both Saxtons now have very different amounts of interactions depending on what class they punch. A majority of the classes, of course, like scouts, snipers, spies, and whatnot, are a bit of a, normal thing, because, they don't have that much health to survive. But when it comes to looking at soldiers, demo knights, heavies, and of course, in a very weird instance, medics, things get a little bit interesting. Because for when it comes to community server Saxton, unless soldiers are running battalions backups, or demo knights are actively making sure that they're getting their heads, Saxton can quite easily defeat them and make them become literal, death. As opposed to heavies and medics, where, in this game mode, medics have a bit more health, and heavies just have enough health to survive at least one extra punch from Saxton. but at the same time it doesn't really matter that much. But then when it comes down to official Saxton Hale, things are a bit more interesting. Unlike community server Saxton can't go ahead and kill soldiers immediately as they can survive with at least 5 HP left, and Demo Knights are more than capable of surviving punches from Saxton should they manage to acquire enough hits. It was the same as that for the community servers, but at the same time it was a bit more riskier because of the fact that Saxton did more damage on the community servers. But at the same time though, I do want to go ahead and say that was it a better thing to balance this out? And in a way, I truly believe so. Because sometimes, even in community servers, Saxton being able to one-shot a majority of the classes wasn't exactly the best for balance, but did hold up to the true character of Saxton. He's a very big guy that can punch very hard, so of course, sticking true to fact is a lot more fun at times than having to stick to balancing. Of course, that doesn't mean that for the official game mode it was a bad decision to decrease the damage. I just feel like it's a bit of a different type of spectrum. I'm alright with both damages on both sides, because both sides of the spectrum utilize different things to make the damage worth the while. Saxton and the OG being able to basically one-shot people because the certain servers have different rule sets afterwards because of the new revive stuff. Some servers allow for you to revive teammates and whatnot, although to be fair, it takes a while and you have to heal them all the way back up to 300 just like you would a heavy, and honestly, sometimes it's not worth it. Meanwhile, in official, Saxton has 3 unique abilities and of course has abundant new types of other things that can assist him to make sure that he can kill the red team quickly, as well as other things as well for the red team too. But overall, I feel like when it comes to talking about balancing the punches of Saxton is something that was very much a good thing to happen for the official game mode, and was not really that much of a major difference to really think about. However, what is a main difference is in Saxton Hale's super jump. As we all know, or for the people that actually did play community servers, Saxton Hale has a very high amount of jumping potential. In community servers, Saxton Hale, before the whole rework at times on certain servers, used to have the same as any other boss. You'd hold your right mouse, and then let go to jump into the air, effectively making it so that you were capable of jumping high up into the air and landing back down to certain areas. This made it so that if you needed to get to an area where certain enemies were at, you could quite literally jump up and effectively take care of them pretty easily. Now, fast forward over to official Saxton Hale, this has been removed completely and changed with something a little bit better in my opinion. Your super jump is no longer on a cooldown, and you no longer have to charge it up. Instead, it's activated by doing a simple double jump. Press once and press again, and Saxton will jump into the air very high. At times, this jump height will be a bit different depending on certain circumstances, but it is very helpful and effective for making usage of great mobility and catching up to certain opponents that are running away from you very quickly, including very much like scouts, snipers, and also medics. But in my opinion, of course, once again, balancing this out was probably something that confused me a little bit, but I still welcome it nonetheless. OG Saxton being able to jump with a very high jump still holds a nice little place in my heart, and the new jump feels very nice to control at times, although new players do find it to be a little bit tacky and a bit weird, especially if you've only played community version and then just now started playing the new version. Believe me, I was the same person as well. And then of course we move on to the other abilities of Saxton Hale. Saxton of course having his 3 new abilities such as the Mighty Punch, which is of course just the Saxton Hale punch, but it does a whole lot of big damage and it's a very loud bang. Then of course we have the Mighty Slam, which is basically crowd control. Make people fly away and keep them away from you if you want some space. And then of course we have the Charge Punch, a punch that allows Saxton to utilize greater mobility and basically become a walking, literal, massive behemoth of a car that's charging right at you. Believe me, you would not want to be in front of that. As for the OG Saxton, well, honestly, in my opinion, the Saxton that we have for OG only really had a few unique attributes that would very contributing to his abilities. The only real ability he had was, of course, the Rage. I've had very mixed feelings about Rage, and honestly, on one hand, while I do appreciate it, while I do, kind of miss the whole Saxton Hale being to scream loudly and make you get stunned, I do appreciate the official game mode taking a whole new approach in trying to make Saxton Hale a bit more viable than just having to scream and run around and punch people. Don't get me wrong, the rage mechanic was a very unique one and was actively very helpful in certain situations. The fact of the matter is that every time you took a lot of damage and made it to 100% rage, you could press the E button and call for medic and activate it. Previously, of course, in older versions, you had to taunt to activate it, and honestly, it was a bit more, it was weirder. Having to taunt to activate an entire rage was something that I really did not really like seeing, so the fact of the matter that they changed it to a good old-fashioned call E for medic was a very nice thing on their part. Especially considering the fact that even back then, some people could very much bypass the taunt by still being able to punch you. Not entirely sure why that was the case, or how that even came to be, but it still did. But when it comes to talking about the rage in general, it's a nice mechanic. I mean, it helps out with taking care of a large group of enemies that are having you trapped in a way, and making it so that you can go ahead and take care of select targets like medics and snipers or even engine nests are very useful. Although when it comes to talking about the new Saxton Punch, I definitely do think it also does a very good job of helping you out of situations where you might see yourself get stuck. Especially against overcharged patients. Because with the Saxton Punch, it not only does a lot of damage, it also generates a lot and a very big amount of knockback depending on how close the target was to you. Because of this, it is very helpful to utilize the Super Punch to try and make it so that people can get away from you as well, similar to the Mighty Slam, and make use of it in many different ways like one-shotting medics, and even at times very hard to hit targets like heavies, or even Demo Knights as well, to knock them all the way back and make them realize that their life decision was a very bad one. Now, next, let's move on to other things as well. Like, do I approve the Mighty Slam and do I approve the Charge Punch? Well, yes, I do. Both of these are very nice renditions and assist in various amounts of degrees, like taking care of engine nest and taking care of a multitude of other problems like getting to higher locations with the Charged Punch, and Mighty Slamming can give you, of course, the greatest amount of crowd control you'll ever see. Are they good? Are they very good renditions? Absolutely. I mean, honestly, well, I mean, if this was in the original Saxton Hale, people would be losing their crap, but it isn't, so. But when it comes to really talking about other things as well, there are many other type of aspects that really need to be put into play in order to truly understand if there's any real amounts of bigger differences with Saxton Hale in general. Like, for one, OG Saxton Hale doesn't allow for you to knock the Hale back with your melee weapon, but official Saxton Hale does. And is that a very good thing in my opinion? Well, I suppose. Don't get me wrong, in situations where melee combat happened very often in the OG Saxton Hale, it was very tense. There was no knockback to knock back the Saxton Hale and make it so that you wouldn't have to go ahead and have to calculate every single hit that you would hit on him to basically juggle him every so often. You have to go ahead and face off in your own battle of wits. Make sure you utilized your weapons accordingly, because if you managed to do them all correctly, you could win the fight. If you didn't, you got punched in the face and sent to Brazil. Now, the reason why I'm not going to say I hate the melee mechanic in official Saxton Hale is because I do feel like it was required at some point to try and give the mercenaries a bit more of a chance to try and knock Saxton back to escape him. I mean, there wasn't really that much except for a medic's ubercharge or if you were playing heavy and had a lot of HP. Or soldier. But even then, official soldier still has trouble doing that. So, while I do appreciate the whole being able to knock back Saxton in official, I would like to see if perhaps they could lower the knockback a bit, considering the fact that Saxton has a massive resistance to knockback, and the fact of the matter that the knockback that he is receiving from the melee weapon is quite a very big amount. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very helpful, but at times I can definitely see this becoming a major problem when it comes to just dealing with people only utilizing melee and juggling you around like you're a goddamn ball. Which, of course, can be very funny because Saxton Hale in both games actually utilizes man treads, or in the community servers ways, Goomba stomping. Goomba stomping in the community servers was a method that could be utilized by both sides. You basically jumped on the enemy's head and you Goomba stomped them. Whether you were a boss or a mercenary, you could do basically whichever one you wanted to. You could jump on the boss's head and deal damage, or you could just jump on people's head as the boss and kill them instantly. In official Saxton Hale, though, that is gone. You no longer have the ability to Goomba Stomp anymore, and instead, only Saxton Hale has the ability to basically slam people into the ground with his feet. Of course, the damage that he does is dependent on how high he is, but believe me, when you see a gigantic Australian man being in the entirety of the sky for more than a couple of seconds, you better be ready to go ahead and write your entire will down, because I'm gonna be real with you, you're not gonna make it out of there alive, bucko. But with that being said, though, this really should be all that should be said. There's not really much else to say about OG Saxton Hale because, well, the only other thing to really talk about is the attributions that he has, and I mean, honestly, I don't really want to get much into that because that would require me to do mathematics, and I'm not a math guy, because I hate math at times. But, nevertheless, though, I do want to go ahead and say, though, that at the end of the day, can I really say that official Saxton Hale is better than OG Saxton? And for that, I say, if you believe it is, then good for you. If you don't, then that's good for you. But for my opinion, just play whatever the fuck you want. This video, once again, was not something to go ahead and make you be considering of whether or not you want to try both of them and just consider to stick to one. But in reality, it's times like this that you must understand that checking new things out and deciding if you like it or not is something that's core to any human being. Any human can like change, and any human can despise change, whether it was a good one or a bad one. And that's something that each individual human has to try and deal with. So, while you might be willing to enjoy some good old-fashioned official Saxton Hale and be able to only play as a Saxton with random chance, other people might be more inclined to play original original Saxton Hale, which houses a queuing system and isn't as random as you can literally just utilize a command and be able to figure out that, yes, indeed, you are the next Saxton, get ready to fuck everyone up. So at the end of the day, I will safely say that there is no definitive answer in saying if whether or not official Saxton Hale is better than OG Hale. Sure, official Saxton Hale has a bit more content when it comes to the abilities of Saxton and being able to climb walls, but at the same time, OG Saxton still continues to go ahead and house many multitude of players playing the servers very recently, mainly because people were actively enjoying being able to play OG Saxton. I know I said that for the footage I was trying to get that a majority of people weren't playing that much of OG Saxton, but believe me when I say that this was only when I was actively trying to find a server that people were trying to play Saxton Hale on. I found servers that have had literal filled up queues to the max where people were actively playing and chatting whilst also enjoying some funny moments. And don't get me wrong, official Saxton Hale also has those moments, but believe me when I say that community servers just has that little spiral of insanity that really comes into it because of just the sheer amount of curiosity and craziness that can happen due to the amount of, well, people that can be there at times. So, what is the main thing to take from this video? Well, if I really had to go ahead and say it, I would definitely say that it is mainly just choose what you want to play. If you want to play official, if you want to play community, just go ahead and enjoy what you like. Both sides have good amounts of good content to enjoy, and all in all, I really do want to just say that this is a very nice thing to have for TF2. Official Saxton Hale was something that we really wanted for years, and honestly the fact that Valve actually gave it to us was actually very nice, including the seal. I really like that seal very much. So at the end of the day though, what is in the future for TF2 once the summer update is over? Well, as far as I know, we've been having a lot of chats and stuff about people wanting Saxton Hale to stay, but as far as we know, it's only an event, and for all we do know, Saxton Hale could be gone at the very moment and probably never come back. But I am very much a hopeful person and very much want to say that although things may look grim at times, TF2 will continue to be a very loving game for me, and I will never give that up. No matter what happens, I don't care what happens, TF2 will be something that I enjoy, and I don't care what other people say. You can tell me all you want about hackers and whatnot, but at the end of the day though, I'm a TF2 fan, I enjoy the game, and honestly if you don't like the game that much anymore, that's on you. You have fun with that's your opinion. Enjoy that as much as you want, play the games that you do want, and after all of that, I hope you all have enjoyed today's video. This video took a while to make, and although I am going to be heading to college in a bit when this video does come out, I will definitely say that for stuff like this, I normally don't go ahead and chat for this long. Although to be fair, this is not exactly something I would consider to be a lucky show-esque kind of thing. Take it as you will, this is not episode 6 because episode 6 is still in limbo right now, and honestly I really need to figure out how we're going to actually get it out of there. But with that being said though, I hope you all have enjoyed listening to me rant about a lot of stuff. And with that being said though, I have been Lucky Explosion, this has been the Lucky Explosion channel, and I hope you all have a very, very lucky day, afternoon, night, or wherever you're from, and I will see you all in the next lucky video. Ciao.